Hey girl, welcome to the Feminine Founder Podcast, where we are all about learning and growing professionally so that we can build a life that we are proud of and really love. My name is Caroline, and I'm a LinkedIn expert, obsessed with teaching female entrepreneurs how to start, grow, and scale their personal brand and business on LinkedIn. This podcast is all about sharing our stories and learning from each other on how to navigate our professional journey so that we can live our best lives. So if you are just starting your entrepreneurial journey or you're growing and scaling an epic company, you're in the right place, friend. Today, I have Darla Bonk with me. Darla is the CEO and founder of Darla Bonk Consulting. She's an operational and human capital performance expert. She's a speaker and also the podcast host of On Your Way. Welcome, Darla.
Thank you so much for having me.
So tell me about where you are right now and how did you get there?
So I have a business consulting firm that was fostered out of a manufacturing company that my husband and I started back in 2016. We decided that we would get married, merge 4 teenagers and 3 dogs, and start a business all at the same time. I think all we were missing was the partridge in a pear tree at that point in time in our lives. But we started it from the ground up. We didn't have a single customer. We didn't have a building. We just had an idea and a business plan that we thought at the time was brilliant. Looking back, you're like, we had no idea what we were doing. But out of that, people started asking us how we had scaled so quickly. We scaled to 7 figures within 3 years, working together as a husband-wife team. And so from that manufacturing brick and mortar business came the business consulting business that I have today. And so I started that beginning of the year of last year, 2023, and have scaled that to over 6 figures in the first year, and have just been really working with business owners, CEOs, founders, corporate executives, board of directors to either right size their companies, come in for a very specific strategic task that's needed, specializing really in operational excellence and human capital performance.
That's awesome. I love that. And you and your husband are brave because I'm in a blended family as well, and it can get interesting.
Yeah, right. It's like it cannot be explained. It can only be experienced.
I love that. So you have on your LinkedIn profile, everybody is looking for something. And I know that something could be different for everybody, but in your business consulting experience, what does that something look like to most business owners and entrepreneurs?
Great question. So most business owners have either determined that they are going to have to work longer in their business than they thought they would. So their runway of work looks differently. Maybe the kids don't want anything to do with the business. Or maybe the business has become a monkey on their back, or the lights have gone out, right? Where whatever the spark was that made them start the business in the first place, they've either lost that spark on the business side or they've lost it on the personal side of the house. And so it is really looking to figure out what it is that makes you you, that aligns with your value system, that makes you want to get up in the morning. Let's go find that. And then how do we infuse that energy both in the business and back into your personal life?
So what are your top 3 leadership tips?
Oh gosh, that's a great question. You have to show up and be real and authentic and be completely you. And that doesn't mean because it's your company, you get to be a bull in a china shop. What it does mean is understanding that you have a team of people who have put their livelihood in your hands and agree and have invested in their time that what you are building and creating, they want to be a part of and believe they'll get something out of it. So I think the being real and authentic and understanding you're not doing this in a vacuum. You've got a team of people. And if they see you being vulnerable with them, they're probably far more likely to be vulnerable with you. And not that you're going to be the therapist and you're laying on the couch, but it is, we're arm in arm doing this together. I think the second thing you have to be willing to do is tell people what your vision is. Tell people what your dream is. And a lot of times people don't want to reveal that because they're afraid of the intellectual property. And maybe in the IA space, maybe if you're Elon Musk, maybe I get that. But for most of us that are, back down on earth. People need to know where you're trying to take them because they want to know, do I get to go on that journey with you? Do I want to go on that journey with you? So I think you have to tell people where you want to go. And then I think you have to be able to pivot when needed. If what you have back in the day in that business plan isn't what is still working, be willing to say and be open and comfortable enough in your own skin to say, you know what, that wasn't the right call. Let's pivot and go in this direction because that's where the business need is. That's what the clients are asking for. That's what we need to do and what we have access to with our vendors. And that's what will change the trajectory of this industry. And we can be a leader in that space if we're willing to pivot and be agile and flexible enough to say a change is even needed.
I love those. And when you were talking more about sharing your vision with your team members, so how do you know that they're on board or in alignment and want that same outcome that you do?
Love this question. So, I subscribe to the adage, you take care of your people will take care of your business. And in this day and age, we hear so much about we are being held hostage by employees. And I'll never be held hostage by an employee. But what I mean by getting in the room with your team and letting them know where you're going, it's also saying, here's where I know we need to be. Here's where I know we're going as a company. Here's where the trajectory of our company is going based off the client needs. Now, employee, how do you think we can effectively execute that? How do you envision us making that work? Because they're your frontline people. They're the ones doing that work day in and day out. And so when you can set the stage, but then let them determine where on the stage they are going to be set up and be aligned and what they're going to do when they're on that stage, I believe that buy-in comes in a more tangible and effective way where they then begin to be the collaborators and the dreamers and the executors of what your vision was. Because you're the dreamer, they're the executor. And if you keep that way, you will let them dream and envision along the way without it taking you off the trail from what your overall vision is.
Okay, so let's say we have an employee and they're on the bus, they are aligned with the vision and all the things. So what if I have them, I'm a leader or an entrepreneur listening to this, and I have an employee who's highly skilled, and maybe I have them being a CFO right now or being a marketing director, but they have more skills, maybe not the crossover of the numbers and the marketing, but what do you do with an employee that has more capacity?
So, it's interesting that you just asked this question because I just went through this exercise last week with a company where they did some downsizing, but they really haven't assessed in the last 18 months, what is the skill set of the people we still have in the house? So you might have the right people on the bus, but you may not have them in the right seat. So it's being willing to stop and slow down long enough to take an assessment to the point where we ended up having the receptionist in the building. At night, she is 52 or 53 years old. At night, she has gone home for the last 6 months and studied AI and worked through all of these different platforms. And who knew that she knew more about the AI in the world than the IT director? What do you like to do when you're not doing here? What other pieces do you have information about that could help the business of what we're trying to achieve and accomplish? And so it's not just about checking a box or not checking a box, but it's really knowing how to engage your team, how to learn from them, and how to pull out of them those skills that you may not know they have because maybe they don't know where that skill set could fit into the company because it doesn't align with their title or their position. But what are the skills we're looking for, hard and soft? And how can we capitalize on that so that those employees can flourish and shine and thrive?
Okay, let's talk about more about soft skills because in my past life, I was a recruiter, even up in the executive space, working with 7, 8-figure professionals. Why do soft skills matter so much, no matter if you're an employee or a leader? Tell me all the things.
Yeah, so let's go back to the AI conversation, right? I may have all of the AI knowledge, but if I don't have the soft skills of knowing how to communicate with you, Caroline, and say, let's establish a base of what your knowledge is in the tech world. What are you comfortable with? I may never be able to get you to sit there and go, instead of to ChatGPT, to Gemini, or to Content Fries, or to any of these other AI platforms that will make your life easier because you're uncomfortable with communicating what you don't know. But if I can help set that tone and platform that will make you feel more comfortable to share that, then we can get to the hard skills that you need to know so that we as a company don't get left behind. So I think there's an interchange. It's not mutually exclusive. There's an interchange of those hard and soft skills that can allow your team to further be able to align and to collaborate and to function in a more whole capacity that will move that business forward. Both are needed. Both hard and soft skills are needed every day.
I think that's something that's super underestimated. At least I saw that in my recruiting career, is people would work on their hard skills and yeah, they were great, fill in the blanket, whatever they were, but then they neglected the personal development or professional development, whatever category you want to put it in. And it's actually the executive functioning skills. You don't have to even be an executive to have executive functioning skills, but that was what I saw move the needle for people in a really big way.
Yeah. I mean, think about just even in a personal sector. Let's say, you and your spouse, that you need to change your budget, or that you guys need to bring finances in range. But if you guys don't know how to communicate to each other, or maybe one partner is great with understanding numbers and the other one's like, oh, I'll just keep making money, we'll figure it out as we go. You've got to figure out the things that can bring you two together so you can get on the same page to create a methodology or a mechanism with which you can both agree to operate in that will help you both accomplish the goals that you're trying to achieve.
So I'd love to shift and talk mindset with you. It sounds like a lot of what you do in your work, you work directly with leadership teams and entrepreneurs, and a lot of business is mindset. So what type of mindset do you need to have to be a successful entrepreneur?
Let's take a quick break.
Did you know that I'm hosting a free webinar on September 10th on how to start, grow, and scale your business and personal brand on LinkedIn? If you are curious about growing your business or your personal brand on LinkedIn, this is for you. LinkedIn is no longer a place for job seekers and companies hiring. It's a full-blown professional networking site. If you have a service-based business, your clients are most definitely hanging out on LinkedIn. Or if you have a product-based business, your customers are also on LinkedIn. So come join me Tuesday, September 10th at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time. This will be a free 30-minute webinar on Zoom, and I can't wait to see you there. Have questions? Send me a DM. Link to register on my website and click the webinar tab.
So I would say the biggest thing is the mindset is everything. And if you don't know not only who you are, but who you are not, someone else will influence who you become. And I tell this to every one of my clients. It's like a broken record. But this board can tell you everything that you need to be doing as a CEO. You are the only one living your life. What do you know you need to be as a CEO? What do you know you need to be as a husband and a father and a dad and all those things? If you're not communicating that, then they're going to dictate that for you. And I think having the knowledge and the wherewithal and the confidence to know and say who you are and who you're not is first in the mindset piece. I think the other thing is you have to be self-aware of how you are showing up in the business and to your partners and to your colleagues and to your team. If you're showing up and just saying, oh, you need to recognize who you work for, ooh, that makes you want to cringe, right? And so it's like, even you back in your recruiter space days, I'm sure can relate to the sense of, okay, I have great folks with, resumes for days that anybody would kill for, but does it match what that company is? Does it match what the vision for that company is? Is there an alignment there? And so I think having the mindset to stop and pay attention to here's the skills, here's what's needed, here's what's required, but is there a fit? What drives you, candidate? What drives you, company? Is there an alignment there? If there's not, we're wasting everybody's time because we all know the cost of onboarding, right? So if you have a bad hire, what does that do to your organization? And I think from a mindset perspective with your clients, how many business owners listening today have taken on clients that you did not love, they did not align with who you were, but you saw the dollar signs, or you needed the dollars that were going to come as an infusion of cash flow into your company. And so you took them, and now you're like, I can't, how do I fire this client, right? Because they're draining me. So I think when you know who you are and who you are not, I think it makes decision making much more simple. Doesn't mean that decision is easier, but it's a simple yes or no. Just how do I navigate through that?
I love those 3 points. And one thing I'm going to add to that, and I'd like to get your opinion on it too, is, and I experience this as an entrepreneur, I experience this as an executive recruiter, is how people experience you really matters. So how do they experience you as a leader? How do they experience you as an entrepreneur? How do they experience you as a client or partner? And a lot of that right there just says so much, but I'd love to get your opinion about that.
I love this question, Caroline. Thank you so much for asking it, because I'm going to go back to when we were first starting the manufacturing company and we were interviewing, and like, I just hope people buy into this vision that we get, because I don't know how to go and fling metal in a machine and do all these things. But what I realized in was their first impression of us, not just as a husband and wife team, but as the experience I'm going to walk into, even in that interview, matters as much. And one of the things we have done religiously in that business is at the 90-day mark and at the 6-month mark and at the 1-year mark, one of the questions we ask when we are doing the assessment or review is, how has what we told you in the interview aligned with what your experience has been with working with our company? Because your feedback to us makes us better in our recruitment efforts. And that has been so empowering and engaging for us. And we've learned a lot of things that we thought were no-brainers. Oh, we need to really hone in on how we communicate that better, because what we have thought is an assumption. We haven't truly communicated that from a culture perspective. So I think in terms of knowing how people are experiencing you starts even from in that first interview, even from a client perspective. Maybe you're a solopreneur and you're just doing it all, and God bless your ever-loving soul. How are, even from when you are developing that person as a lead, how are you encountering them? How are you engaging them? How are they experiencing you in the sense of you showing interest in them? You know, Caroline, one of the things I've loved about you from the first encounter we had is you were really looking outward to people, even on the LinkedIn platform, and your post of, here's 5 people you need to know and why, whether you had personally met them or not. That is so different than what the world of work is today, in the sense of, I have to hoard, I have to take. But you give, and you get so much more by giving and sharing and serving. And that is so about face to what this world has become, that I think makes you just absolutely engaging and so pleasant and lovely and wonderful. And we need more humans like you in the world. But again, to your point, how are people experiencing you? My experience with you was, she's looking to say, hey, here's people you may not have seen from the algorithm, but here's who you need to know. And I loved that, because that's so different than what the world has told us we need to do as entrepreneurs.
Thank you for the kind words. And it's actually interesting, because I started doing that because I just really wanted to highlight other creators on LinkedIn. And I had a client ask me one time, she was having a hard time really wrapping her head around it. Like, why would I give my Friday post to other people? And then I also have had people slide into my DMs saying, like, how do I get on your list? And I'm like, it's 100% organic and it's going to stay organic. And so, like, we're not doing that thing.
Yeah. But think about even that, the fact that you're willing to sit there and stay motivated and committed to, this is an organic exchange, and there's nothing you can do to get on that list. It's organic and natural and innate to you. And I think that is an incredible thing that lets people know how they can experience you when they're coming onto your social media pages and into working with you. And I think it's fabulous, and everybody should take a page out of that playbook. Kudos to you.
Thank you. So switching gears a little bit, you talk a lot about building a business and a life around that you love, or a business around a life that you love.
Mm-hmm.
So why is that so important?
So I think one of the things that I observed when we were going through the emergence of the manufacturing company and dealing with various people on committees that we served in volunteer capacities in our community, realized that people were making decisions based off what they thought other people wanted them to do. And we both had been married previously and had been pretty rough marriages before. And so we had made a commitment that above all else, we are going to be authentic and real to ourselves, authentic and real to each other. And so long as that is aligned and spiritually what we believe in, we can sleep at night. You may not love me. You may not even want to be anywhere in my wheelhouse, but you're not living my life. I'm the only one living my life. And so I think for me, it was really important to make sure that the experience that you had with us, the engagement that you had with us was authentic and real to who we are. And it was aligned with what we knew to be true. And from that spawned everything else. That foundation has to be there. That grounding has to be there. You see all kinds of things people have online of do this and do that and do that. And we just refuse to be niche people. We refuse to be, here's the next best thing kind of people. It was, we're going to show up every day. We're going to do the work. We're going to make it happen. And we just know that business will come. And I think so many people are looking for the shiny object, and that just doesn't exist.
Oh my gosh, I get that all the time on LinkedIn, and I'm like, no, you have to grind it out, but it's so freaking worth it. And I don't know why our culture, our society wants to get rich quick or it happen fast. I think maybe multi-level marketers have gotten into our brain that that's how it is, but that's not how it is. You have to show up every single day, and you're going to hear crickets and not see the dollar sign some days, but you have to stay in the grind. But once you stay in the grind, people just want to see the highlight reel. It's crazy to me.
Yeah. And I think it's, we're a popcorn society, right? In the sense of we want everything right now. We want to take a video in 20-second and 30-second increments, and we get, oh, I did this, 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 and this, and in 20 seconds, and now I'm getting this, this, and this every single month. What they're not showing you is all of the blood, sweat, and tears. And I always say to CEOs and to clients when I'm talking with them, like, we tried this and tried this and tried this. And, how long have you tried it? What has been your monitoring component to the system? Like, how are you tracking what the progress is? Because, the old school, this will show my age from corporate, you can't manage what you can't measure, right? And so also, what's on the editing floor? What did you scrap and why? Was it because you only tried it for 5 minutes? Well, we always see how many followers do you have and how many of this. I can tell you every single client I have, maybe one, maybe two actually commented on an actual post, but they watched from afar. They watched from the periphery. They watched this, they watched that, and they engaged in a DM or they engaged elsewhere or directly through the website or whatever it may have been and said, I've been watching you for 8 months. I've been monitoring what you've said over here. I saw some of the comments you made over to here. And I'm like, how did you even know I even existed? But we're so looking for someone to validate our minds and our thoughts by what somebody posts or responds to on us on social media. And it's like, I don't need the validation. Here's what I know I need to be doing every day. If that resonates with you, that is incredible. And let's figure out how to work together. But if it doesn't, that's also okay, because I'm not for everyone and neither is my business. There is enough in the 7.5, 8 billion people in the world for all of us to win. It doesn't have to be immediate. It takes time. I've got clients who watched me. I just signed a client this week for 2025 who has been watching me since the second month I incorporated in my business. He watched for a whole year. And he said, this is what my process is. I don't bring anyone into my company until blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, wow. Like I need to be a little bit more scrutinizing of my clients. But he was somebody that I truly respected. And our negotiation time was a whole entire week long of what are you really looking for? Here's what I loved about you, Darla. Here's what I noticed about you. Here's what I think you could help me with in my business. So now the conversations became much more tangible because there was a longevity of observation, not just the 30-second. Oh, what are the net 3 things I can sit there and spout off and make $1 million bucks a month? Seriously, who's still buying that, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, not me. And I'm with you with the abundance mindset. Like there's plenty of everything for everyone. And one quote I did see on Instagram was people at the top collaborate, and people at the bottom compete. And
ooh, nice. Love that.
I really love that. I forget who said it, but I was like, wow, yeah, that's hitting hard.
Yeah, that's great.
So if someone's listening to this podcast now, what advice would you give to someone who wants to start a business?
I would challenge you to think deeply about a couple of things. How disciplined are you? How much do you want the business? Or why do you want the business? Is it because you want the freedom from the boss? Is it because you don't want to have to work on a Friday? Is it because you want the time freedom, which everybody says they want, which I get theoretically, but you're going to have to put in more time to work for yourself before that time freedom comes. Let me just set the tone for you all. I think what is making you want to have a business? Is it because everybody is an entrepreneur since COVID? Or is it because you know innately and aligned to who you are in your value system, you have something that the world needs to have, that only you can deliver in such a way that whoever becomes your audience and community will only receive in the way in which you deliver it. Because I will just tell you all, newsflash, there is nothing new under the sun. Many people relatively do the same. It is the packaging, it's the delivery, it's the wordsmithing that makes it resonate with you versus what makes something resonate with me, right? So I think that would be another piece. I would say also, you might have a great product and service, but if you don't know how to run a business, if you've never learned how to read a P&L, if you don't know what an income statement is, like, don't get frustrated by that or feel defeated by that. Engage and press into that which you are not familiar, because you have to know your numbers in business. You can have the greatest products in the world. You can have a great sales team, because I can tell you probably 4 or 5 entrepreneurs right now who have businesses with $10 or $15 million of revenue every year. They have not been profitable for the last 3. So that you've got to look at that in totality. I have a great service. I have a great product. I have a great idea. Here's what I can do. And also learn how to operate and run a business that is profitable. It matters.
Oh, I love that. So what is lighting you up about some of the clients you're working with right now?
Seeing the lights come back on, seeing that there's still more life to live, seeing that life's not over because they lost $1 million client. Let's just reconfigure. Let's reverse engineer financially. How do we make this work? And seeing them realize I absolutely can do this. And I had so many mentors along the way when I was down and out in different times in my life, whether it was business wise or whether it was personally, who believed in me when I didn't in myself. And so if you have to borrow belief from someone for a while until you can get back on your feet, that's okay too. But don't live in other people's belief of you. Engage in your own. Find your own way to believe in yourself again and realize that anything is possible. Because think about it this way. And here's what I like to tell people. What is one of the very first things we did in elementary school? What do you want to be when you grow up? Right? And we dreamt about being an astronaut or being a firefighter. We had no idea what it took to be a doctor. We didn't know that meant 15 years of school or whatever it is these days, right? And, multi-million dollar, liability suits in case people wanted to sue, malpractice lawsuits and all that would entail with that, right? But somewhere along the way, we stopped dreaming that anything is possible. And if you can dream and then imagine and see the end game that anything is possible, you can do anything. You may need to bring people in to help you along the way, but you can do absolutely anything you set your mind to if you believe in you. And if you believe in you, other people will too.
Drop the mic. That is a great way to end this. So this has been amazing, and I love everything that you're saying. How can our listeners find you?
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. You can just search for Darla Bonk or Darla Bonk Consulting. You can email me at darla@darlabonk.com, or you can just search darlabonk.com and find me there as well. Love to connect with you.
Thank you, Darla.
Thank you so much, Caroline.
It's that time of year again. Summertime is in full swing. I don't know if you're like me, but your girl hates drinking a warm beverage. That's why I created Chilled Vino. Chilled Vino is my patented drinkware product, designed with innovative cooling technology to keep your wine or cocktail cold. With a long stem and elegant feel, you can enjoy your wine or cocktails outdoors. Chilled Vino is shatterproof and resembles a wine glass made of BPA-free plastic. You place in the freezer 4 hours prior to using and remove, and voila, it'll keep your wine cold for hours. You can find at www.chilledvino.com or on Amazon.